Hi there. I've got a video here. The title is Making a Personal Vulnerability Assessment. You could also call it a risk assessment. And grab some pen and paper, okay, because you want to make some notes. Bear with me. This is my first video, and I intend to show you a method or a technique for developing your own vulnerability assessment. I hope you can see the chart and read my writing. Okay, this technique uses a simple logical approach to identify key risks and mitigation, or that's a big word. It means prevention strategies that will help you focus your limited time, energy, and resources to the issues that have the highest probability or potential and the highest negative impact to your preferred lifestyle. Most people go through this process in their head, but there are so many issues and risks that they get bogged down, overwhelmed, or don't know where to begin. So the key here is we're going to be identifying the highest risks with the highest impact so we can focus on those. Building this chart specifically for your situation will help you identify the most likely risks to you and your family with the worst consequences so that you can focus on prevention and preparation strategies that will have the most benefit to you and yours. And what I mean by that, if you see the third item there is an asteroid impact, okay? No point in putting a lot of effort into that. The probability is very low, and the impact, unless it's nearby, okay, is and if one were to hit, it would be similar to an earthquake. And so we'll get to that in part 2 when we talk about natural disaster issues. So this is sort of you've heard of WAG versus SWAG. WAG stands for wild ass guess, and SWAG stands for scientific wild ass guess. So with this chart, we're doing more of a SWAG here, and I've got a quote for you. You might want to write this down. Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. So we're keeping it simple. I'm using the KISS principle for this chart. The key here is getting the thought process of mitigation strategies to get you thinking about what you can do to prevent or minimize the impact of the things most likely to occur. Grab that pen again. I've got a quote for you from John Wayne. And John Wayne says, "Life is hard. Life's even harder when you're stupid." So this chart will help you. Unless you're Chuck Norris, you're going to need a way to focus your efforts on the most critical risks, but in a logical fashion. Okay, now for the chart. I'm going to cover the first item today, and the reason you might be saying, well, what does vehicle accident have to do with prepping? Well, most preppers need to drive a car. If you're working for a living and you commuting to work, the single most dangerous thing you do every day is get in a car and drive somewhere. And so that's the one I wanted to tackle first. And I put it down into two categories. One is a breakdown and the other is a collision, right? Now the numbers I'm using 1, 2, and 3. You can use a 5 scale or 1 to 10, whatever flutters your skirt. In my case, because of the age of our cars and everything, I'm using a medium for probability, and I use a medium probability or medium impact for a breakdown, but a collision I'm using a high number. So let's talk about in a breakdown, the situation can be if it's a dry sunny day and you run out of gas and you're not in a remote area, that may not be too much of an inconvenience. But if it's wintertime or it's dark and it's raining, okay, now you've got a different situation. So what can you do to mitigate issues around a breakdown? One I'd recommend is look at joining AAA, okay, or an outfit called AMAC Also, they offer the same service, roadside service. They'll come to you and they'll either fix your car on the spot or tow it to where you want. And it's only about $10 to $15 a month. And so that's actually pretty cheap insurance for the service that they can provide. In the winter, now a breakdown in the wintertime, especially if you're up north, we spent a winter in Iowa, and that was one winter enough for me. You want to keep extra clothes in your car in case you have a breakdown and let's say you run out of gas or your engine, you can't run your engine, then you can't run your heater, and it's going to get cold inside that car, and you're going to want some extra clothes, a blanket. It's good to have some non-perishable food on hand just in case you're there for a while. Cell phone. Have your charged cell phone. You may be able to get help through the cell phone, and you also might want to have an emergency kit and a first aid kit in the car, so you may be able to fix things yourself. That's on a collision. Okay, that's a different story. That can be a collision with another car, or you run off the road and hit a tree, or someone hits you. Okay, in a collision, everything. If you're in a car going 60 miles an hour, so is everything inside that vehicle, and everything that's not strapped down will. If your car comes to an abrupt stop, all right, the things that are strapped down will still be moving at 60 miles an hour. And if you've got a big cooler of beer in the back seat, all right, it can become a missile. We actually had a client that was killed by his own laptop because he had it in the back panel above the back seats, but under the rear window, and he hit something, and the force was so hard that the laptop came through the front and decapitated the guy and killed him. So keep in mind, strap everything down. Floorboard is the best place for heavy stuff. If you can't put it in the trunk. Trunk is the best place for things that can hurt you. Keep in mind, you got other people in the car also. And if they're not strapped down, they will also become a missile. So that's what I mean by storage. Empty bladder. Most people that die from a collision, all right, they die of internal poisoning, and it's because their bladder gets ruptured somewhere in the process, and they pass away because they were driving with a full bladder. So try to make sure you take a leak before you leave. Okay, get plenty of rest. Also, aside from DUI, which is the most common cause of fatalities, the next one is falling asleep at the wheel. Be surprised how many people that happens to. They fall asleep, they run off the road and hit somebody, flip over, or whatever. So don't drive tired. Don't text. If you're driving when you're intoxicated, okay, then go back. I take you back to the John Wayne quote. All right, life is hard, and it's even harder if you're stupid, and that's just plain stupid. Now, also a lot of collisions are caused by hydroplaning or skidding, people sliding off the road. If you're driving on ice, okay, remember what John Wayne says. I've never met someone who's good at driving on ice. But the best thing you can do, okay, to avoid a hydroplane skid situation, no matter what car you drive, fill the tank with gas. All right, that's going to give you the weight. It's going to give you better traction in whatever the situation. But it only takes 1 inch of rain on the road at 45 miles an hour to make a car hydroplane. Once those tires lift up on that thin sheet of water, you no longer have control. Yes, if you do find yourself in a hydroplane situation, and by the way, do not use cruise control if it's raining, because if you do hydroplane, guess what's going to happen? Your cruise control is going to kick in and you're going to spin out, and it will make a bad situation worse. The best thing you can do if you start feeling it getting kind of wiggly, let off the gas. Okay, let the momentum and the weight of the car get you back into the. And by the way, I always thought wide tires would be better in a hydroplane situation. That's actually wrong. They're because you have more surface area on the road. Wide tires are more dangerous. A pickup truck with rear-wheel drive is one of the most dangerous in a hydroplane situation because it doesn't have much weight. You can benefit by putting some sand or carrying something heavy in the back of your pickup truck to give you a little better traction. But the best traction, of course, is four-wheel drive. Then comes all-wheel drive, and then front-wheel drive, and then finally rear-wheel drive, which is most common in cars, is the most susceptible to a hydroplane or a skidding condition. So gas up, keep a full tank of gas, okay? And also your mitigation for a collision, same situation. You could be it could be a dark, rainy night and cold outside. You have a collision. You may not be able to get inside your car. You may have to stay away from the car, so you may need those extra clothes, a flashlight, a cell phone, and so all the things that you use for a breakdown, you can use for your vehicle. You can use for a collision. So those two, both of those would apply in a collision situation. In part 2, we'll talk about house and apartment fire. Okay, but what I'm trying to do here is to help show you how to create your own risk assessment. All right, and you can see from the chart, I've listed some categories where I think would be the most common or most likely issues to occur, and we'll also cover natural disasters. And the idea here is to figure out where you need to focus your time depending on your particular situation. And unless you're Chuck Norris, okay, this will help you plan and focus your efforts. Thank you very much.